all of those judgments that take place.
A few moments ago you mentioned peace and security. When that takes place, there'll be sudden destruction. What do you think that peace and security is? A lot of people have different opinions about that. Some say they think it's the peace treaty in Israel, and what do you think it is?
My personal belief is that people are going to be crying out for peace and security. We want peace. We want security. I don't think there's any other better time that could happen than now. Why? Because there's war all over the earth, and people are crying for peace. They're crying for this ridiculous Iraq war to end. They're crying for peace everywhere. Okay? And then security. You know, what kind of society are we living in now in the United States? We're living in a surveillance society. We're living in a Patriot Act 1 and 2 society. We're living in a FISA, the Surveillance Act, the Foreign, I forget what it stands for, FISA, the Surveillance Act. We're living in a security, we've given up our liberties for security, right, in this nation currently. And I believe that that is what Paul was referring to. People are going to be crying out for the peace, crying out for security. That's when the sudden destruction is going to come upon them, he said in 1 Thessalonians chapter 5. No, I don't believe it's referring to, you know, a peace treaty per se. I mean, it could, but I believe, you know, what I just said is actually the better explanation of that. What do you think?
Yeah, actually, I think you're very accurate with that, because what I've learned is the peace treaty will come maybe after we're gone, or it will trigger the rapture or the resurrection in the beginning of the Antichrist. It's very difficult. It's really hard to interpret it. But I think you're right. But what you just touched upon about the surveillance is exactly what organized stalking victims go through. They're under 24-hour surveillance. And they are heavily persecuted. I mean, their bank accounts and everything. So everything that you just said does tie in with that. And I only mention the organized stalking because it does, what I believe does tie into the end times and the coming of what you're talking about and the crying for Christ to save us and, you know, not giving up our belief and for peace and security. You're right, because there is no peace and security on this earth right now. So I think you're exactly right.
Well, yeah, just look at what the United Kingdom people are living with. They've got cameras on every street corner. I mean, it's ridiculous how much surveillance and how much security that they have accepted to be protected from another bombing, another 777. Isn't that what it was? 7/7. The bombing in the train took place after September 11th sometime. You know, they've given up their liberty. Yeah, they've given up their liberties in order for that not to happen again. Well, all the evidence points to that event being orchestrated. I'm sorry, I don't think it was an accident or something that terrorists did. I think it was something orchestrated. That's what I believe about the events of September 11th. That it was orchestrated and not by Muslim terrorists either. But
no, I think end-time events, you know, are becoming clearer. And you mentioned the Roman Catholic Church earlier, and we know that the European power comes to rise, and one evil comes out of that. And I think everything you said is very accurate. And you're right. The surveillance, I think that all ties in to what's coming.
Yeah, I do too. I think we're very close to something major happening, and perhaps the return of the Lord, as I've been talking about. I just hope that everyone who's listening to me has gotten right with the Lord, has repented of their sin, and has gotten right with God, because that is your only hope, is getting right with God, turning away from your selfish past, and, you know, repenting means just to change your mind toward God. And we have such a tendency to be selfish in this nation, and we have everything that we want, and I believe that drives us further away from God. And when things are taken away from us, we begin to trust in the Lord more. And so perhaps as this nation goes into an economic upheaval, I believe it's coming, and things are taken away from us, I hope and pray that it will be one last chance for people to put their trust in the Lord And the blood of Jesus Christ is the only thing that can take away their sin, to put the trust in his cross.
Well, I agree with you. I was talking to a lady on the train the other day, and it was just a random conversation, and she, somebody I had run into, and she said, well, you know what, in the end, you better make sure you know God. And I said to her, I said, we better make sure he knows us, And she said, that's right, he has to know us. And I think you're absolutely right. I think that we really do have to turn to God in these hard times, and we have to be right with him, because there's certainly a lot of signs pointing to devastation here in the U.S., and that incoming power and the global catastrophe that you are talking about. And I certainly do not want to be left behind. So no, I do not. And David, we're almost out of time, and I'd like I'd like to ask you if there's anything you'd like to add for the listeners that you feel is important, or you want them to hear. First of all, tell them where to find your book, your website as well.
Oh, sure, yeah. My website is earthquakeresurrection.com. That's the title of my first book, and both of the books are available on that website. And then also, if you choose to purchase from Amazon.com or any of the other online places to purchase books, you'll find it there. It's a little more expensive, but my site is quite a bit cheaper if you'd rather save money there. And you can also purchase it in PDF format from the site. I also have a blog that is linked on my website, and I try to keep that updated. And so I really appreciate the Edge having me on the show, and I really appreciate your questions, and I just hope the listeners will look into what I've put forth and study the scriptures to see whether it's a possibility that what I've described is what could happen in the future. I don't want to be dogmatic and say that this is going to be how it happens, but I want to put that possibility out there, and perhaps it's something that the Lord wants us to know in these final days and to be ready for it. And so that's how I would leave it with you today, Gina.
Well, I appreciate you. Yes, you are welcome, and I will have you back on again. And I thank you for everything, and your information is fabulous. Thank you, David, and you have a great day.
You're welcome. Thank you. Sure.
Has anybody woke up to see the truth? Has anybody felt like hitting the roof? Has anybody seen our dream turn to steam? Cause we turned Great Britain into the United States of England. Just a good old United States of England. Cause we were told we were in the land of the free, but we're not supposed to see the people being free is no longer meant to be. So when you see blood buzzing round, give a frown. It's a signal of more will hit the town and bring it down. So come around and give out that sound. Don't become bound to the ground. If freedom's going out the window, well, be like the fox, don't end up in a box. Give up your screams, don't give up your dreams. Cause there are only little men who fell out the pen when they were born in the den. Cause the truth is, this is good old Great Britain, and if you wish you'd be smitten, you'll have to be reliving. Cause the will of men will be free, so come along and you will see. Let's give the great back in Great Britain. The truth is, good old Great Britain, and if you wish to be smitten, you'll have to be reliving. The will of men will be free, so come along and you will see. Let's get the great back in Great Britain. Well, ships and tides will spread their light, leaving us to despise our demise. Brown and Blair give a stare, showing they don't even care. Leave them buzzed like the clear up spare, pretending they're everywhere, like puppets on a string.